the idea that people within the services have a say in what actually goes on in those services, to design the services, what ones get commissioned, etc. Democracy is a very, very, despite what the media will tell you, democracy is a very rare thing. So to have an actual working democracy within a county where there's a constant conversation between the people that provide the services and the people that use them, it's just the right thing to do, isn't it? It's a really easy sell, I think. It's a really easy sell. I think there's a general lack of knowledge about how to deal with addiction, particularly in the workplace. We have to fundamentally first accept that we're dealing with an enormous mystery when it comes to addiction. There is no known cure. There's no known cure. That's the first thing to remember. There's no known cure. And people are very nervous about confronting the illness. Addiction is a bit of the black sheep of the mental health family. It's kind of okay. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay to have borderline personality disorder. But don't be an addict, because that's your fault. So the more stories we can tell, so we can convey the fact that it is not a moral choice, that it is a mental health illness the same as any other mental health illness. By sharing those stories, you kind of share your strength. And something really extraordinary happens in recovery, in that it is an extraordinarily profound journey where one gets back in contact with your humanity, with what it is to be human. It goes beyond just not taking drugs and alcohol. That's the small part of it. Then there's this introspective journey that you go on, which is extraordinary. Now, if you share the story of that return to humanity with the wider public, that can surely only do good. That people remember that there is something beyond your job, beyond the role you've been given in life, beyond your relationship with your family, and etc., the masks you wear, and to remember that there's something far deeper going on for us as human beings, which is really a journey to find out who you are and what it's all about, and that's what unites us all. Addiction fundamentally is a loss of self. There's something happens where the person is taken away. There's like a gaping hole in the centre of the person. It's completely empty, it's devoid of anything. There's a caricature that kind of gets paraded around that looks like the person, but it's not the person. So then when you go back, when you get on this incredible journey to go back towards, who you really are, that is the catalyst to really go on to do something quite special. I think what sits underneath a lot of people's journeys is a fundamental realisation that they're mortal. Because I speak for myself, I thought, well, okay, I didn't die that day, but I will die eventually. So, to coin Monty Python's, you've gone from nothing, you've come from nothing, you've gone back to nothing. What have you lost, really? Nothing. So there's a freedom that comes with, there's a liberation that comes from realising that you are ultimately going to die. When you come into recovery, everyone makes a big song and a dance about, well done, isn't it fantastic? You're not drinking or taking drugs anymore, or whatever it is. And there's a big fanfare, and then everyone the fireworks go off, and off you go. And then as you run away from addiction and into recovery, you realise after a couple of weeks of running, you look around and there's no one there. Okay, which is again terrifying. So the idea that you would, build a community that's not just a community on its own, but sits within the community of the county itself as well, sharing those stories of humanity and recovery and all the good stuff that comes from the behaviours that you need to stay in recovery. If you share those with the community, they're extraordinarily powerful. It takes a certain mindset that I think society would benefit from to stay in recovery. So to start sharing that, to have a supportive community. So when you do run into recovery, you run into John, who's going to go, actually, welcome to Ethics Recovery Foundation, with the communities here, and we've got all sorts going on. And by the way, recovery is fundamentally more exciting, is more fun than the madness of addiction could ever be. We suffer with a lot of glamorisation of addiction, and I think the media deal with it in a pretty poor way, if truth be told. From all the rock and roll horror stories, etc., etc. It's not that. It's not glamorous. It's very painful. So to communicate that, to make recovery this incredibly welcoming thing with lots of people involved in it, and we can start sharing that message with the community, so they realise that there's no stigma involved, there's no shame involved.